boy Danny is lit today. We are here. We are finally here about to discuss this topic. You already clicked on the video. You already saw the description name. You know what it's about. Alright? Can our boy Kam beat Danny Phantom? Let's get into it. Will I be biased during this video? For sure. But while I'm being biased, I'm definitely going to be accurate and factual. So you don't even need to worry about that. The first thing we're about to do is list all the powers that both of them have, whether it pertains to physical attacks, defense, and special attributes. Let's go. Alright, so first off, we're going to list my boy Danny. Because even though he's doing all of this, Danny's still an OG. Danny's still an OG. Nickelodeon did the thing. But the powers for Danny, right? Talking more about that, when I was researching for this video, I was definitely surprised about how much power this kid actually has. That ain't mean nothing to me, but I was definitely surprised to see how much powers my boy has. So going from the top of this, he has accelerated healing, supernatural agility, supernatural endurance, speed, and strength. Okay? He has flight, you already know he has a ghost ray. That's using the ectoplasm, that's ectoplasmic energy. Ectoplasmic energy. Okay. He has ectoplasmic energy along with intangibility, nobody can touch him. Invisibility, he could turn invisible. Overshadowing. Basically overshadowing is when he takes over, he goes into somebody's body and basically takes them over. He could control the actions and stuff like that. He has telekinesis, cryokinesis. He had that for a minute. I have never seen him use that. I've never seen Danny use that like constantly, but that's something he had briefly put that down there. He has duplication. He can make clones of himself. He has an energy strike. What an energy strike is basically when that thing he does when he puts the ectoplasmic energy on his fist and he's able to like punch them and that like blows up. He has ghost sense, basically able to sense ghosts. Ghost shield. The ghost shield is used that's one of his defensive powers. He is used ectoplasmic energy again is used to basically stop incoming and far away attacks. He has photokinesis. Photokinesis is basically the ability to produce light, so he could do that. He has a ghostly wail, basically one of his like strong attacks. That's like one of his strongest attacks. Basically, like he uses his voice to have this large like cannon like type ectoplasmic wave destroy everything in his wake, right? He also has a repulsion field, which is basically him doing a burst of ectoplasmic energy. He usually does that when there's like a bunch of enemies around and he wants to get them out of them. Boom, he does a repulsion field. Alright, so that's Danny's powers. Next is Kam's powers. So Kam's powers is definitely not as much as Danny, but like I said, I won't answer in a second once I explain the natural stuff that they could do. The first one is Enter the Shadows. So Enter the Shadows is Kam's one of Kam's first abilities that he got in book 1. So basically with Enter the Shadows, what he needs to do is look into a shadow, right? And after he looks into the shadow, he could basically appear in the shadow. Alright, so remember that because that's going to come in when we talk about, we're going with the verses and we're talking about how fast Danny is compared to Kam. But yeah, so Kam Enter the Shadow power. He could look at a shadow, enter a shadow instantly. It's almost like he's floating inside the shadow, right? And he could do that instantly. Like there's no pause. As soon as he looks and he thinks about it, he's in the shadow. The next power is shadow manipulation. So basically, it's like kind of like Photokinesis, which is people that can manipulate shadows and use them in different ways. So what Kam does is he makes like weapons out of his any shadow. So you could take a shadow and he can make like a whip, a rope. He can make a sword. He can make a shield. He usually does a shield. He makes like a shield around him. That's one of his defensive attacks with shadow manipulation. He can use shadow phase. Basically, shadow phase is similar to Danny. Danny can go through walls and stuff like that, being like intangible. That's the same thing. So Kam can also go through walls. He can phase through attacks and stuff. Anything that comes towards him, Kam could use shadow phase to be able to have that pass through him. He can also use an ability called Shadow Heist. So Shadow Heist came in book 2, one of his newer abilities or shadow techniques. So what Shadow Heist is about is he's able to, when he activates when he uses his superpower word, so Kam has a superpower word. He says the word Kivuli, with his medallion. He has a medallion around his neck, and when he grabs onto the medallion and he says Kivuli, he's able to use the powers of the Jumbi that he's in a contract with Har. And so while he's doing all of this, while he's already in his shadow form, when he touches somebody's shadow and he says Kivuli again, he has to be calm. Like he can't do this while being calm. That's the way that you use the shadow technique. He has to be calm. So once he does that, he's calm and everything, and he uses shadow height. He's able to steal that person's either their more strongest attack or their innate ability and characteristics. So for example, we talked about the Sukian the last time. If the Sukian's main characteristics, this is all converse lore, so don't try and turn back in my own thing. This is converse lore, alright? So basically when the Sukian would be touched by Kam, if Kam was to use Shadow Height on the Sukian, he would take the innate ability of the Sukian. So the innate ability of the Sukian would be its speed, its ability to use fire-based attacks, and also it be affected by like the sun, so it can't be out in this day in the sun. So he would take that out, but he would still take the best characteristics and attributes of whoever shadows he touched. So say if he touched, let me get our next person. Captain America. Say if Kam was to touch Captain America's shadow, he's a shadow height. He would be able to take Captain America's super strength and durability. Right? He would basically become a superhuman on top of that. Alright, so that's shadow height, which is basically, it's not OP because first of all he needs to be calm, and second of all he can't use the ability as well as that person. There's a cap, right? It has to be a cap. So he can't use the ability as well as the person, but he reaches a great level of mastery and he's able to understand how the ability works on a mid-level, but not like a pro level, okay? Weapons. So Danny doesn't have any weapons. He definitely always uses like the rays and his punches, the energy strikes a lot, but he doesn't have like any weapons that he pulls up. Kam has a build hook machete. So the build hook machete is shadow based. When he first got it in book 1, Harb the Jumbi gave it to him, and it's basically just a hilt. And he needs to basically infuse his shadow energy into the build hook to make like the blade of the build hook machete. So it's basically like a machete that he uses. The properties of the build hook machete now, it's able to damage anything spiritual, energy or creatures, anything like that. It's able to damage them. So this includes ghosts, right? So we're about to get into how that flows. All right. So we talked about all the different powers as it pertains to that, and we definitely separated the attack stuff from the defense stuff for both characters. Now let's talk about how this will play out in the actual fight. Alright, so first off, to get started with it, we need to do this in a logical, make sense type of way. So how we're about to do this is basically about to name the things that would matter in a regular fight, right? So speed, strength, and endurance or durability, okay? So in the speed category, Danny is definitely faster than Kam. Like that's a fact. Danny is faster than Kam. The counter to that though, Kam can use into the shadows. So instead of being able to, Danny would be faster than him, say if he were just using a bunch of rays, ectoplasmic rays, just using a bunch of those against Kam would be basically defensive if he didn't have into the shadows, because Danny would be moving so fast that he wouldn't be able to do anything. Danny would be moving so fast, and Danny is basically moving up to the strength category. Danny has natural enhanced strength as a half ghost. He does. He has that, and he's also able to combine the ectoplasmic energy strike with his speed and power, which is why he'd be falling so much people, because he has the whole package, right? Kam and the strength side, Kam has a natural advantage, and so last year when the book first came out, we had this debate. A lot of people were saying that Kam would get folded from Danny, but I didn't really understand that our boy Kam has a natural advantage against them. The natural advantage is that his build hook machete can naturally affect spiritual creatures. So Danny would count as a spiritual creature. He's a ghost, right? So stuff like that, Cam has an advantage against. So that's one. So in the strength category, even though Danny is naturally stronger than Cam in terms of strength, Danny still has to watch out for Cam's bill hook. If he gets touched by it, it will be a critical hit for sure. Like if he gets and Cam is fast. Even though I said that Danny has better speed than him, Cam is still fast. Cam fights with the Kivuli and shadow techniques, and that means that his basic fighting style is composed of like somersaults, sweeps, and the backhand. How he holds his machete is kind of like what's my guy's name from Kingdom Hearts? I think his name is Ben Toss, something like that. So basically, he holds his keyblade backwards, so it's like a backhand, and that's the same way Cam holds his Bishop machete. And so, with him being able to use all of these, because it's basically a type of martial arts, right? And so, because he's able to do this, he has the up on Danny in terms of strength. Because if Danny gets hurt for the Bishop machete too much, then it's not done deep. He's dead, like definitely dead. And so we could definitely argue. You could argue that we heard this argument before when he was fighting. When we did this a bit before. If Danny fights Cam, all he needs to do is take away the medallion. And the medallion is what imbues Cam with the power of the shadow drumbeat. It's the shadow medallion, right? So that is true, and that is factual. So you can argue that all Danny has to do really is take away Cam's medallion. But then you could also argue in the same breath, you could just use a ghost's weakness. All Cam needs to do is get the thermostat, I forget what it was called, but it's basically the thing that used to walk around when he used to trap ghosts in. That's all Cam would need to do, and trap Danny in the ghost form. So I mean, it's you could argue that. Anyway, so staying on a logical plane when both of them is fighting each other, and like in a perfect world, like even if Danny was trying to do that, all Cam would need to do is stay like a good distance from him, right? And even if all that is happening, Cam holding off Danny in terms of a long distance fight, Danny does have the advantage in that because he has the attack raised. He could definitely shoot those at Cam. Cam has shadow manipulation. He could just put up his he could use shadow manipulation, put up his force field, and that's a done deal. So Danny would have to come up for an up close fight. Disadvantage because Cam again has a good hook machete. But even with that, Cam could also use more energy. He can imbue the shadow bill hook machete. He can imbue more shadow energy into the bill hook machete, making it and changing its size, so he can make it longer also. So it doesn't change. It actually doesn't change the weight of it. So that's one thing that's definitely like if you check out book 2, which is where he first starts using that ability, it doesn't change the weight of it. So as soon as he starts to imbue that dark shadow energy into the bill hook, as soon as he slashes, it's the same weight as it always was, which is light, and he can be able to slash quickly. So just imagine a huge blade coming at you with quickness, right? If Danny gets touched, it's over. Like if he gets touched like a lot, it's a bunch of critical hits. One after the next, after the next, after the next. Okay? So that's how we're looking at an up-close fight. And when we're talking about endurance and durability, again, Danny does have the upper hand when it comes to that because Cam actually uses stamina and his endurance does go down as he keeps using shadow techniques because he can't keep using it without a drawback. Definitely, because with the character, of course, our creation, we didn't want to make him too OP. If you have characters that are OP, the story is just, it becomes boring. So he does have drawbacks, and the drawback is that he can't keep using shadow techniques without losing stamina. So he does lose stamina. However, the more he trains, the more he's able to upgrade basically how much stamina he can use in a fight and endurance he can use with the shadow techniques. So Danny does have the upper hand at that because Danny doesn't have that backlash. However, if Cam is able to use Enter the Shadows quickly enough to get into Danny's shadow and use Shadow Heights, which is the ability where he basically takes the essence and the innate abilities of whoever shadow he touches with Shadow Heights. Then he's taking Danny's powers, and in the same breath, he could just go for a quick slash. Now, Danny could turn intangible. That's a fair argument. That is a fair argument. But in the show, we don't have any records of Danny ever staying intangible to win a fight. He cannot stay intangible forever, right? So of course, Kam at some breath would be able to hit him with a big hook machete. Because, like I said, using Enter the Shadows, he can enter any shadow around him. In their fighting area, he can enter any shadow very quickly. It's like an instantaneous thing, right? So he's right up on Danny, slashing at him. Done deal. And with being able to lengthen the big hook machete, imbuing that with shadow energy, then the distance that he would need to do that to hack and slash Danny is over. It's a done deal. Like it's crazy. Like I said, Danny does not stand a chance against Kam. Now the argument was that in book 1, Kam was a less man. And he was a less man. You can't just start with a character being nasty. Like you can't do that. But in book 2, my dog been training for like almost a year. So in book 2 he comes back better than ever. And let me make that clear. I'm talking about book 2 Kam. I'm definitely talking about book 2 Kam where he has all his abilities I'm talking about. Because he's definitely a better fighter, he has more experience. For the whole year, he was fighting all these different supernatural creatures by himself. He wasn't dealing with anybody else, he was doing it by himself, so he definitely has the experience to fight. And he fought ghosts along the way within that time. So he definitely has experience fighting ghosts. Now, Danny, like I said, he has speed, endurance, and strength above Kam. But the biggest thing that we need to look at here is the fact that Kam has a big machete that will destroy Danny. And if we measure up like the attack that Danny has, he has the Ghost Ray. So the Ghost Ray is his like go-to attack. I think the most damage that a Ghost Ray has ever done is either it could definitely destroy a mountain of rocks. A mountain of rocks as in boulders. It could destroy boulders for sure. But it won't destroy a whole building. It will just blast a hole in that building. But he's never destroyed Dark Danny has. But we're talking about Danny. Like before that time skip thing. None of his ectoplasmic rays has ever destroyed a whole building. It's made holes in a building, that's for sure. So we could definitely rate the strength on that attack today. A level of attack on that. If Kam gets it with that, he'll definitely be feeling it because that attack is pretty strong. But all he would need to do is either use Shadow Phase to become intangible, because he can do that, or just use Enter the Shadows and dodge that. So that's already a 1-up. But so they basically have some of the same powers in terms of that, which is why this debate is even a thing. Because Danny is a beast, Ghost Boy, definitely a beast. But Kam, what? Shadow Medallion, hold up, what? In the Converse, Kam ain't nothing to play around with. He's a real thing. So, definitely look out for more info on this. Drop some stuff in the comments. I want to know what you guys think. You could debate me. Whatever you want to do, I can just come back with the facts. I ain't even make this stuff up. I didn't make stuff up. Definitely make this stuff up. But it wasn't like I made it up to exactly go against that. This is just how the book is progressing. Like the book 2 progresses crazy. This was a non-spoiler video. So I'm just telling you stuff to entice you. But I wasn't telling you everything that's in the book. Because the Kam basically at the end of book 2, the Kam at the end of book 2 is stronger than anything that I even talked about in this video. Like you don't even want to know how strong that dude is. And we can definitely have another video about who else Kam could beat. Alright? Because the Kam boss ain't no joke. So drop a like, drop some comments down there, and check out later.